Dr. Allison Wright tapped her finger on the glass display as she studied the genetic sequences. The blue light from the screen lit up her face in the dimly lit laboratory aboard the research vessel, Horizon. Something was wrong with the data, or perhaps something was incredibly right. "Eric, come look at this," she called to her research partner. Dr. Eric Martinez pushed away from his own workstation and rolled his chair next to hers. "These can't be right," he said, squinting at the figures. "Run it again." Allison shook her head. "I've run it 5 times. The miners from the Jupiter colony showed genetic adaptations that should have taken thousands of years to develop, not 3 generations. The discovery had begun as a routine analysis. The Jupiter mining colony had reported unusual resilience to radiation among 3rd-generation colonists. What started as standard medical research had turned into something that could change humanity's understanding of its place in the galaxy. "If these readings are accurate," Eric said, "humans adapt at rates unlike any other known species." Allison nodded slowly. "Not just adapt. We mutate, purposefully. It's as if our DNA rewrites itself to solve environmental problems." The next morning, Allison presented her findings to the Horizon's captain, a stern woman named Patricia Miller. The captain listened carefully, her expression growing more concerned with each slide. "So you're telling me humans are some kind of genetic wildcards?" Captain Miller asked. "Yes," Allison replied. "While every species eventually adapts to its environment, humans do it exponentially faster. The miners' cells have developed protective mechanisms against radiation that weren't present in their parents. It's like watching evolution in fast forward." Captain Miller rubbed her temples. "The Galactic Council will want to know about this immediately. You understand what this means, right? They already think we're unpredictable." 3 days later, a sleek silver ship docked with the Horizon. Ambassador Krell, representative of the Galactic Council, resembled a tall, slender human, except for his iridescent green skin and 4-fingered hands. He moved with unnatural grace in the ship's artificial gravity. "Dr. Wright," the ambassador said, his voice surprisingly deep, "your findings have caused quite a stir. Many council members find them concerning." Allison straightened her lab coat. "With all due respect, Ambassador, we see this as a breakthrough, not a threat." Krell's expression remained neutral. "Perhaps, but you must understand that stability and predictability form the foundation of galactic peace. Species that change too quickly are often problematic." The ambassador insisted on seeing the data firsthand. In the lab, Eric pulled up the genetic sequences of multiple generations of Jupiter miners. The evidence was undeniable: rapid, directed genetic changes in response to environmental conditions. "In most species," Allison explained, "beneficial mutations happen randomly and spread through natural selection over many generations. But humans seem to develop these adaptations within just 2 or 3 generations. It's as if our DNA has a built-in problem-solving mechanism." Krell's eyes narrowed. "The implications are significant. If humans can adapt this quickly to local conditions, we could potentially survive in environments that would kill other species," Eric finished, "or develop abilities that could upset the balance of power," Krell added quietly. Later that night, after the ambassador returned to his ship, Allison found herself alone in the lab. She pulled up an analysis she hadn't shared, her own genetic profile compared to her grandmother's. The differences were subtle but undeniable. 3 generations on space stations had already begun changing her at a cellular level. Whatever was happening to the Jupiter miners was happening to all humans living off Earth. Her personal communicator beeped. It was a message from Captain Miller. "Council ship departed. Ambassador requested all your research data. Something's happening. Meeting at Uro 600. Allison looked back at her screen, at the evidence of humanity's strange genetic plasticity. She had wanted scientific recognition, maybe a research grant. Instead, she had made a discovery that might change humanity's place in the galactic community forever. Whether that was for better or worse remained to be seen. 6 months after Dr. Wright's discovery, the human colony on Proxima Centauri b faced a crisis. Lieutenant Samantha Cole stood at the viewport of the Colonial Command Center, watching as the orange haze spread across the valley floor. The terraforming chemicals had reacted badly with the planet's atmosphere, creating a toxic cloud that now threatened the entire settlement. "How bad is it, Samantha?" asked Governor Alan Fisher, his voice tight with worry. "The toxin levels are rising," she replied, checking her tablet. "The protection suits won't hold up for more than a few hours of exposure." The colony had been established only 30 years ago. 3 generations of humans had been born here, living under protective domes while the terraforming process continued outside. Now that process had gone terribly wrong. "The evacuation ships won't arrive for 2 weeks," the governor said. "We need to pull everyone back to the central dome." Samantha nodded, but something caught her eye on the monitor. A group of teenagers had gone outside the safety perimeter. They were the 3rd generation of colonists born on this alien world. "They shouldn't be out there," she muttered, grabbing her gear. "The toxin will kill them." But when she reached the group, she found them standing in the open air, their protection suits modified to expose their skin to the atmosphere. They should have been choking, dying. Instead, they were breathing normally. "What are you doing?" she demanded, keeping her own suit sealed. A girl named Megan turned to her, smiling. "It's okay, Lieutenant, we can breathe it now. Our lungs filter it out." Samantha stared in disbelief. "That's impossible. Get back inside immediately." Medical tests confirmed what should have been impossible. The teenagers born on Proxima Centauri b had developed specialized cells in their lungs that could filter the toxin. Somehow their bodies had adapted to the planet's chemistry. Word spread quickly. The Galactic Council sent a scientific delegation to investigate. The team of alien researchers was led by Dr. Vorn, a Zon scientist known for his skepticism about human claims. "This adaptation should take hundreds of generations," Dr. Vorn said, examining the test results in the colony's medical lab. "Not 3. It violates everything we know about genetic development." Samantha watched as the alien scientists examined the colonists. "We didn't plan this," she said. "It just happened." Dr. Vorn's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a sign of Zon agitation. "Precisely what concerns us, Lieutenant. Unplanned genetic adaptation is unpredictable. Unpredictable species are dangerous." The scientific team spent weeks studying the colonists. They found that the adaptation was spreading through the colony's younger population. Children as young as 5 years old were beginning to show changes in their lung tissue. Unknown to Samantha, other eyes were watching. On a cloaked ship in orbit, Commander Zeth of the Vesprid Empire observed the proceedings with great interest. His mandibles clicked as he recorded a message to his superiors. "The rumors are true," he reported. "Humans adapt at rates that defy explanation. This ability could be harnessed, weaponized. Imagine soldiers that could adapt to any battlefield condition within a single generation." Back on the colony, Samantha met with Governor Fisher to discuss the scientific team's findings. "What did they conclude?" the governor asked. "They're still analyzing the data," she replied. "But they're concerned." Dr. Vorn keeps using the word impossible to describe what's happening. The governor sighed. "And what about the children? Are they in danger?" "No," Samantha said. "They're healthier than ever. But the way they're changing—" She hesitated. "Sir, I don't think this is just happening here. I've been checking reports from other colonies. New Europa's underwater mining team has developed enhanced lung capacity. The Mars colonists show improved radiation resistance. It's happening everywhere humans have settled off Earth." That evening, as Samantha filed her report, a priority message came through from Earth Alliance Command. The Vesprid Empire had suddenly shown interest in human outposts. All colonies were to increase security measures immediately. Samantha looked out at the orange haze that had once threatened the colony. The same poison that had nearly killed them had somehow made them stronger. She wondered what other changes were coming, and who else might be watching humanity's unpredictable evolution with dangerous interest. Captain John Kelly stood on the bridge of the Earth Alliance vessel, defiant, his eyes fixed on the communication screen. The message had been intercepted an hour ago, and its contents had turned his blood cold. "Play it again," he ordered the communications officer, Diane Simmons. The grainy recording showed a Vesprid officer speaking to what appeared to be a superior. Their clicking, insect-like language had been translated by the ship's computer. The human's mutation rate makes them perfect test subjects, the Vesprid said. We must acquire specimens from various colonies to study their adaptation mechanisms. Imagine our warriors with such capabilities. Kelly's jaw tightened. Send this to Earth Alliance Command immediately. Then set course for Research Station. Omega, we need to warn Dr. Wright. The Defiant jumped to faster-than-light speed, racing toward the station where Dr. Allison Wright continued her research on human mutation. But they weren't the only ones headed there. At Research Station Omega, Allison worked late into the night. After her discovery 6 months ago, the station had become the center for studying human genetic adaptability. She hadn't left the station since the news from Proxima Centauri b confirmed her theories. You should get some sleep, said Nathan Rogers, the station's chief of security, as he brought her a cup of coffee. Allison took the cup gratefully. Too much to do. These samples from the Jupiter miners show even more changes. It's as if their DNA knows what problems to solve before they happen. Nathan leaned against her desk. That's what scares people, isn't it? We're changing too fast, for the rest of the galaxy to predict. Change isn't always bad, Allison argued. These adaptations are helping us survive in places we never could before. The station's alarm suddenly blared to life. Nathan's handheld device lit up with alerts. We've got incoming ships, he said, his expression darkening. Vesprid signatures, they're not responding to hails. Vesprids? Why would they? Allison started, but Nathan was already pulling her toward the door. No time. We need to evacuate. The Vesprids aren't known for peaceful research methods. Throughout the station, scientists and staff rushed to the escape pods. Security personnel directed the evacuation while others prepared to defend the station. Nathan led Allison toward the secure laboratory section. We need to destroy the research, he told her. We can't let it fall into Vesprid hands. Allison stopped in her tracks. Destroy it? This is years of work, the keys to understanding human evolution. Which is exactly why they want it, Nathan countered. They'll use it as a weapon. The lights flickered as the first Vesprid weapons hit the station's shields. They had minutes, maybe less. Allison made a split-second decision. Running to her private lab, she pulled a small vial from a secure refrigeration unit. What are you doing? Nathan demanded, following her. Saving the research the only way I can, she said. The vial contained an experimental compound she had developed, one that could potentially accelerate the very mutation she studied. Before Nathan could stop her, Allison injected the compound into her arm. Are you insane? He shouted. You have no idea what that will do to you. Better me than the Vesprids, she replied, feeling the cold liquid spread through her veins. My body will contain the data now. Even if they capture me, they won't understand what they're seeing without the research to explain it. Nathan looked at her in horror. We need to get you out of here. The station rocked with another blast. Emergency lights flashed as the artificial gravity began to fail. Through the viewport, they could see Vesprid boarding ships approaching. Escape pod section C is still clear, Nathan said, checking his device. We need to move now. As they ran through the corridors, Allison could already feel changes beginning inside her body. Her heart beat faster. Her vision sharpened. Her mind raced with calculations and possibilities she had never considered before. Whatever happened next, she had just become the most important test subject in her own experiment, and potentially the most valuable target for the Vesprid Empire. 3 weeks after the attack on Research Station Omega, Dr. Allison Wright sat in a secure room deep beneath a military facility in the Rocky Mountains on Earth. Her hands trembled slightly as she picked up a metal puzzle cube and solved it in seconds. It was the 12th puzzle she had completed that morning, each more complex than the last. Your cognitive abilities continue to increase, said Lisa Bennett, the young military nurse assigned to monitor her condition. Lisa made notes on her tablet as she observed Allison. The calculations happen automatically now, Allison explained. I see patterns everywhere. Solutions present themselves before I even understand the problem. The experimental compound Allison had injected herself with was changing her faster than anyone had anticipated. Her cellular structure was continuously reorganizing, her brain forming new neural pathways hourly. The scientists studying her were both amazed and frightened by the speed of her transformation. Lisa checked Allison's vital signs. Your heart rate is perfectly steady at 40 beats per minute. That's half the normal rate, but you show no signs of distress. My body is becoming more efficient, Allison said. She looked at her hands, noting the subtle changes in her skin texture. The question is, when will it stop changing? And what will I become when it's done? In another part of the facility, Admiral Paul Davis met with the Earth Alliance Security Council. The meeting room was tense as they reviewed footage of Dr. Wright's latest tests. She memorized 1,000 random digits in under a minute, said one scientist. Her cells can now regenerate at rates we've never seen before. Small cuts, heal in seconds. Is she still human? Asked a council member. The scientist hesitated. Genetically, yes, but she's changing so rapidly that our definition of human may need to be reconsidered. Admiral Davis rubbed his forehead. The bigger question is whether she's a threat. The Vesprids attacked that station specifically to get her research. Now she's become the research. We need to consider all options, said a woman in a black suit, including containment protocols if she becomes unstable. She's not a prisoner, Admiral Davis responded firmly. She's a hero who made an incredible sacrifice to keep her work from falling into enemy hands. Back in her room, Allison suddenly stood up. They're talking about me, she said to Lisa. 2 floors up, Eastern Section. Lisa looked startled. How could you possibly know that? I can hear them, Allison said simply. My senses are enhancing too. She walked to the wall and pressed her hand against it. The Vesprids are still looking for me. They have spies in the Jovian colonies already. Lisa's eyes widened. That's classified information. How did you? I don't know, Allison admitted, looking troubled for the first time. Information just comes to me now. It's like I'm connected to something larger. That night, as Lisa checked on Allison before ending her shift, she found the doctor writing complex equations across the walls of her room. The formulas covered every surface written in marker that Allison shouldn't have had access to. What are you doing? Lisa asked, alarmed. Allison turned, her eyes bright with excitement. I figured it out. Humans aren't random mutation engines. We were designed this way. Designed by whom? I don't know yet. But our DNA contains markers, triggers built into our genetic code thousands of years ago. Something activated them when we started moving to space. Allison pointed to a particularly complex formula. No natural evolutionary process could create this level of adaptive capability. Someone engineered us to be this way. Lisa stared at the equations covering the walls. She didn't understand them, but she could see they were far beyond current human science. This stays between us, Lisa said finally. At least until I can talk to someone I trust. Allison nodded. The Vesprids can't be allowed to learn this, and neither can certain people here. She looked directly at Lisa. I'm changing faster now. Soon I might not be able to communicate in ways you understand. I need your help. Lisa hesitated only briefly before nodding. What do you need me to do? The neutral space station, Concordia, orbited in the empty space between 2 star systems. Built as a meeting place for different species, it now hosted the most important diplomatic gathering in recent galactic history. Representatives from 17 galactic civilizations had arrived to discuss one topic: humanity's mutation abilities. Gregory Walsh, Earth's chief diplomat, straightened his formal uniform as he prepared to address the assembly. His aide, Olivia Cruz, stood beside him, reviewing notes on her tablet. They're afraid of us, Olivia whispered. I can see it in their body language. Fear leads to bad decisions, Gregory replied. Our job is to show them we're not a threat. The main chamber of the station was designed to accommodate beings of all shapes and sizes. The lighting adjusted automatically to suit different visual sensitivities. Air composition changed in different sections to allow all delegates to breathe comfortably. The Zon representative spoke first, his 4 eyes blinking in sequence. The evidence is clear. Humans adapt at rates that defy evolutionary norms. The question before us is whether this constitutes a threat to galactic stability. Gregory took his place at the central podium. Distinguished delegates, humanity has lived among the stars for less than 2 centuries. In that time, we have followed all treaties and agreements. Yes, our bodies adapt quickly, but this ability helps us survive in new environments without needing to terraform planets to our specific needs. This reduces our environmental impact, not increases it. The Vesprid representative, a tall insectoid with gleaming black armor, rose next. Pretty words, but they ignore reality. Humans are unpredictable. All stable civilizations require predictability. We propose classifying humans as a dangerous species with appropriate restrictions on their movement and colonization. Murmurs spread through the chamber. Gregory felt sweat form on his brow. If the assembly voted to classify humans as dangerous, Earth would face severe sanctions. Human colonies might even be quarantined. We are not weapons, Gregory argued. We are explorers, scientists, artists. Our adaptability is defensive, not offensive. As the debate continued, Olivia noticed something strange. The station's environmental controls were fluctuating. The temperature was rising in some sections, falling in others. She checked her tablet and saw warning signs. Something's wrong with life support, she whispered to Gregory. Before he could respond, the lights flickered. The station's artificial gravity wavered. A voice came over the emergency system. Security breach in Section 7. All personnel evacuate. Immediately. The chamber erupted in confusion. Delegates rushed toward exits, but many were sealed off. Gregory grabbed Olivia's arm. We need to help coordinate evacuation. They pushed through the crowd toward the main control room. When they arrived, they found the station's security team fighting against armed intruders in black armor. Vesprid commandos. They're sabotaging the life support systems, a security officer shouted. Radiation shields are failing in the outer sections. Gregory and Olivia helped direct delegates to safety zones. As they worked, emergency alarms blared throughout the station. Radiation from the nearby star was leaking into multiple sections. The Vesprid delegation is missing, Olivia noted. They must have known this was coming. In the midst of the chaos, Gregory received an urgent message. Several delegates were trapped in a section with rising radiation levels. The rescue teams couldn't reach them in time. I'll go, Olivia said immediately. The radiation levels are lethal, Gregory protested. Maybe. Not for me, she replied. Like all humans who had spent significant time in space, her body had begun to adapt. It was a gamble, but one she was willing to take. Olivia made her way through the damaged corridors to the trapped delegates. When she reached them, radiation warnings flashed red on her suit display. She should have been feeling sick already, but instead she felt a strange tingling sensation. Working quickly, she helped the alien delegates into emergency suits and led them toward safety. By the time they reached a secure area, her exposure had been 4 times the lethal dose. Yet she remained standing, her movement steady. Medical scans later showed that her cells had rapidly formed new protective structures, absorbing and neutralizing the radiation. 3 other humans on the station showed similar adaptations. As news spread of the humans who had survived lethal radiation to save alien delegates, the tone of the diplomatic gathering shifted dramatically. What had been seen as a dangerous unpredictability was now viewed as a potentially valuable trait. The Vesprid attack had failed to achieve its goal. Instead of turning the galaxy against humanity, it had demonstrated the protective nature of human adaptation. In saving others, humans had made their strongest case for acceptance. The Vesprid Emperor slammed his armored fist against the throne, sending cracks through the crystalline surface. His elite commanders flinched at the display of anger. You failed me, the Emperor hissed at the commander who had led the attack on Concordia. Instead of turning the galaxy against the humans, you made them heroes. We underestimated their adaptability. Great one, the commander said, mandibles clicking nervously. Then we will not underestimate them again. The Emperor turned to a tall, scarred Vesprid warrior standing in the shadows. Commander Vex, you will capture this human scientist, this Dr. Wright. Bring her to me alive. Vex stepped forward, the light reflecting off his black armor. It shall be done, Emperor. On Earth, Dr. Wright sat cross-legged on the floor of her secure room. Her eyes were closed, but her mind was more active than ever. Equations and genetic sequences flowed through her consciousness like a river. Eric Martinez sat across from her, recording her observations. He had been brought to the facility 3 days ago when Allison requested his help. The patterns are getting clearer, Allison said without opening her eyes. Our genetic code contains markers that are not random. They respond to specific environmental triggers. Like radiation or gravity changes? Eric asked. Yes, but there's more. Allison opened her eyes, which now had a faint golden glow. Our bodies don't just adapt to survive, they adapt to thrive, to improve. Eric tried not to show his alarm at the changes in his colleague. Her skin had a slight luminescence and her movements were unnaturally precise. Allison, do you still feel human? She smiled. More than ever. I'm becoming what we were always meant to be. Before Eric could respond, the door opened and Lisa Bennett entered with a worried expression. Dr. Martinez, we need to talk. In the hallway, Lisa showed Eric the latest security reports on her tablet. The Vesprid Empire has sent hunter teams to Earth. They've already infiltrated 2 research facilities looking for Dr. Wright. Does she know? Eric asked. She seems to know everything these days, Lisa said. But there's something else. Admiral, Davis wants to move her to a deep space facility. He's concerned about the changes in her. Some people are starting to view her as a potential weapon. Back in the Rocky Mountain facility, Admiral Davis met with Frank Morrison, a Navy SEAL commander. They watched video footage of Dr. Wright from security cameras. She's solving mathematical problems that our best computers can't process, Admiral Davis explained. Her cellular structure is changing hourly, and she's developing abilities we don't understand. Mind reading? Morrison asked skeptically. Not exactly, but she seems to know things she shouldn't. Predict events before they happen. The security team is getting nervous. Morrison studied the footage. And you want me to what? Guard her? From her own people or from the Vesprids? Both, Davis admitted. I need someone who can make tough calls if necessary. When Morrison first met Dr. Wright, he was surprised by her calm demeanor. She looked up from a complex holographic display and smiled. Commander Morrison, she said, you're wondering if I'm still human enough to protect. Morrison didn't confirm or deny. My job is to keep you safe, ma'am. And to neutralize me if I become a threat, she added. When Morrison stiffened, she continued. It's logical. I would make the same call. Over the next few days, Morrison watched as Wright worked with Eric Martinez, analyzing data from human colonies throughout the solar system. Her predictions about genetic adaptations were proving accurate with each new report. She's not what I expected, Morrison told Lisa during a shift change. Less like a science experiment, more like a visionary, Lisa suggested. Maybe. But something's happening to her that none of us understand. That night, as Morrison stood guard outside Wright's room, alarms suddenly blared throughout the facility. Security cameras went dark and communication systems failed. Breach in the north entrance, came a garbled report over Morrison's radio. Multiple hostiles, heavily armed. Morrison entered the secure room, weapon ready. Dr. Wright was standing calmly in the center. They're here, she said simply. Commander, Vex and his hunters, they've come for me. Morrison moved to secure the door. How many? 12. They have technology that blocks most of your weapons. How do you know that? Morrison demanded. Allison's eyes flashed gold. Because I can see, through their eyes now, and they can't see through mine. The sound of weapons fire echoed through the facility corridors. Commander Morrison pushed a heavy cabinet against the door, while Dr. Wright continued to work at her computer terminal. We need to evacuate now, Morrison insisted. They've breached the 3rd security checkpoint. Not yet, Allison replied calmly. I need to finish this transmission. Her fingers moved across the keyboard faster than human eyes could follow. Data streamed to research facilities across the solar system. Everything she had learned about human genetic adaptation. Lisa Bennett rushed into the room through a side entrance. The emergency exit is still clear, but not for long. Eric Martinez followed behind her, carrying portable data drives. Allison, we have to go. We can continue the work somewhere safe. Allison finally stood from her terminal. It's done. Now, we can leave. Morrison led them through maintenance tunnels beneath the facility. The dark passageways were lit only by emergency lights that cast long shadows on the concrete walls. Above them, they could hear the sounds of fighting as Earth. Security forces engaged the Vesprid hunters. Where are we going? Eric asked as they emerged into an underground parking area. Transport to an orbital station, Morrison answered, directing them toward an armored vehicle. Admiral Davis arranged it before communications went down. As they drove through the night, Allison stared out the window at the stars. The Vesprids aren't the only ones watching us now, she said quietly. Lisa glanced at her. What do you mean? I've been in contact with the Zon scientists, Allison explained. They've reconsidered their position on human adaptation. Morrison shot her a suspicious look through the rearview mirror. You've been communicating with aliens? How? The same way I knew the Vesprids were coming, Allison said. My mind had expanded. At a remote airfield, a vertical launch vehicle waited for them. As they boarded, Morrison received a message from Admiral Davis. The Defiant has engaged a Vesprid cruiser in Earth orbit, he informed the group. Captain Kelly is holding them off, but we need to reach the orbital station quickly. The launch was rough, the small craft shaking violently as it pushed through the atmosphere. Dr. Wright remained oddly serene throughout, her golden eyes reflecting the viewport's glow. In orbit, they docked with a research station disguised as a communications satellite. They were met by Dr. Heather Campbell, a xenobiologist who had been studying samples from various human colonies. Dr. Wright, she greeted Allison with awe in her voice. Your data transmission changed everything. We've been working with Zill, the Zon geneticist. She led them to a laboratory where a tall, four-eyed alien stood examining holographic displays of DNA strands. Remarkable, Zill said when Allison entered. You carry the proof within your own cells. Proof of what? Morrison demanded, still suspicious. Heather activated a larger display showing comparative DNA samples. Humans weren't designed as weapons as the Vesprids believe. We were designed as genetic libraries, living repositories of adaptive traits. Zill nodded, his eyes blinking in sequence. Your species was engineered by a civilization that existed long before any of our records. They faced extinction and created humans as a safeguard. A safeguard against what? Lisa asked. Against anything, Allison answered. Our DNA contains dormant adaptation patterns for thousands of environments. When we encounter new conditions, the relevant patterns activate. It's not random mutation, it's planned flexibility. Eric studied the displays with growing excitement. That's why space travel triggered more rapid changes. New environments activated more patterns. And the most important discovery, Heather added, is that these adaptations can be shared. Zill manipulated the display to show cellular samples. With the right techniques, beneficial human adaptations could help other species survive conditions that would otherwise destroy them. Morrison's communicator suddenly beeped with an urgent signal. The Vesprid fleet is growing. 6 more ships have entered the system. On the main view screen, they could see the Earth Alliance vessel, Defiant, engaged in battle with 2 Vesprid cruisers. Captain Kelly's ship was outgunned but fighting valiantly. Allison placed her hand on the display, her expression distant. They don't understand yet, but they will. She turned to the group, her eyes glowing brighter. The Vesprids believe we're a threat to galactic stability. We need to show them we're the opposite. We're the key to survival for all species. The bridge of the Vesprid flagship gleamed with polished black metal. Commander Vex stood before his Emperor, who had arrived personally to oversee the capture of the human mutation engine. The human research station is surrounded, Vex reported. They cannot escape. The Emperor's compound eyes reflected the tactical displays. Bring me Dr. Wright. Kill the others if necessary. On the research station, Allison Wright stood calmly as chaos erupted around her. Warning signals flashed as Vesprid boarding craft attached to multiple airlocks. "We're out of time," Morrison said, checking his weapon. "We need to evacuate now." Allison shook her head. "No, this ends here." She turned to Eric and Heather. "Is the demonstration ready?" They nodded. "The samples are prepared," Heather confirmed. "But we need more time to set up the transmission to all ships." "I'll buy you that time," Morrison said, positioning his team at the main entrance. Lisa moved to Allison's side. "What are you planning?" "Communication," Allison replied. "The only kind the Vesprids will understand." The station shuddered as the first airlock was breached. The sound of weapons fire echoed through the corridors as Morrison's team engaged the Vesprid boarding party. In the laboratory, Zill and Heather worked frantically to prepare the demonstration, while Eric established communication links to all ships in the system, Vesprid, human, and the neutral observers that had gathered. "They're getting closer," Lisa warned, sealing the inner doors. Allison's eyes glowed brighter than ever. "It's time." She placed her hands on a special interface that Zill had designed. "When I give the signal, open all channels." The laboratory doors burst open. Commander Vex entered with 4 elite hunters, their weapons aimed at the humans. "Dr. Wright," Vex said, his mandibles clicking. "You will come with us now." "Commander Vex," Allison replied calmly. "I've been expecting you. Before you take me, I have something to show your Emperor." She nodded to Eric, who activated the communication system. On every ship in the system, view screens came to life showing the laboratory. "Emperor of the Vesprid." Allison addressed the camera. "You seek human adaptive abilities as weapons, but that was never their purpose." On the screen behind her, genetic sequences appeared alongside ancient symbols. Humans were engineered by a species that faced extinction 50,000 years ago. They encoded their knowledge and adaptive abilities into our DNA, not as weapons but as a library, a living repository to be shared. The screen shifted to show experimental results. "These are Vesprid cells exposed to harmful radiation. They die within minutes." The image split to show similar cells treated with a compound derived from human genetic material. These cells survive. The adaptation protects them. On the Vesprid flagship, the Emperor watched with growing interest. Allison continued, "Humans aren't a threat to galactic stability. We're a resource, designed to develop adaptations that can help all species survive environmental challenges." She gestured to Zill. "The Zon have already verified our findings. Human genetic adaptations can be safely shared through carefully engineered treatments. No species needs to fear extinction from environmental changes again." Commander Vex lowered his weapon slightly. "You expect us to believe you would share this power?" "It was never our power to keep," Allison replied. "We were made for this purpose, to help life continue." On the bridge of his ship, the Vesprid Emperor clicked a command to his officers. The tactical displays changed as the Vesprid ships ceased their attack positions. "Bring the human scientist to me," the Emperor ordered. "Not as a prisoner, but as a guest. I wish to see this demonstration personally." Hours later, Allison stood before the Vesprid Emperor on his flagship. Frank Morrison and Lisa Bennett flanked her protectively as she presented the genetic treatment. "This will allow your warriors to survive in toxic atmospheres," she explained, "just as humans on Proxima Centauri B adapted." The Emperor studied the golden liquid. "And what do humans want in return?" "Peace," Allison said simply. "And recognition of our rightful place in the galactic community, not as threats, but as guardians of life." As news spread through the galaxy of the human adaptation library, attitudes shifted dramatically. The Earth Alliance established the Galactic Genetic Repository, where scientists from all species work together to study and share beneficial adaptations. Dr. Allison Wright, now evolved far beyond her original human form, but still dedicated to her purpose, led the repository. Though her body continued to change, her mission remained the same: to ensure that life in all its forms would have the tools to survive whatever challenges the universe presented.